All right, back on video number 2. This is the Z1000SX from 2017. Doing a big maintenance. Make sure to check out the first video I made on this where I take everything apart and change the spark plugs. And now I'm going to be working on the front brakes with the fluids and kind of see what else needs to be done or tweaked. And actually, I just checked out the front brake pads. I bought new Brembo ones, but the ones that are on here, well, they're actually still in pretty good shape. On both calipers, they look the same. So I think I'm just going to keep these Brembo ones for next time when I need to do it. I'm changing the front wheel, getting ready to put stuff in. But always be careful when putting stuff back together that you kind of clean it up, take all the old lubrication out, because this just doesn't look very nice, and put some new grease in there. That's all nicely back together. Now I'm gonna move on and change the cooling fluid, add some additive to that, change the oil and the oil filter. After that, I'm gonna drop down the pipes for the exhaust, cut the catalytic converter off with an angle grinder, and install my decat system. And then finally at the end, I'm gonna change the sprocket setup and put a new chain in, and also different sprockets, so that the power load and the RPMs are more distributed evenly. And meanwhile, I have my little battery charger right there going strong, because that's always handy. Now I'm gonna change the coolant. I'm gonna take this bolt right here off, and then some water is gonna come out. And then afterwards, I'm gonna remove the radiator cap, and it's definitely gonna shoot out, but that's okay. I'm also gonna empty the reservoir in the back right there, and then fill that one up again later as well with some new coolant. All right, looking good. There we go. Oh yeah, this one's broken. I forgot about that. 8mm action. Just throw it away before I fucking... Nothing's coming out. Well, I guess I'll put on the plug. Let me just put a protective cover, because I've seen some videos where a lot just shoots out. Hey, that's something. All right, we have nice green cooling fluid coming out. You can actually hear it like a drain, like bloop, 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 bloop. And I think at the full point, this is gonna be about 3 liters or 4 liters. I'll have to check the manual for that, but it's actually not looking too gross. Quite happy with that. Just gonna put in some new coolant. Coming to a drip now. I'm also gonna squeeze some of the hoses. Really make sure everything is out. And the new coolant I put in there, or I'm gonna put in there, is a different color, so I want to be sure to get everything out. So I think I'll run a hose with some water through there as well, just to really clear out the system. Just ran it for a couple of minutes. I got the air bubbles flushed out of the cooling system, and I also added a engine flush to the oil. So now I'm going to tap the oil, and then afterwards I'm going to remove the oil filter up here and replace it with a new K&N one, a raised oil filter. And it's a bit dark in here because I had to shut the garage door because of all the mosquitoes that came in. But yeah, I'm gonna drain this And then afterwards also add new oil, of course. Wait, there we go. I thought it was gonna overflow, but it's just coming out right enough. I'm not sure if you can see it because it's getting a bit dark in here. Oh, got some oil on my hands. It's actually looking dark as fuck. That's not good. I'm pretty sure this hasn't been replaced in quite some time either. So good thing I'm doing this. All right, while the oil is draining, I'm gonna focus on the rear tire. I've got a different sprocket on there, and this sprocket is actually smaller than the one on there, because what I'm trying to reach is that on higher speeds I'm driving at a lower RPM. So I'm gonna take this sprocket off, put it on the new one, and also maintain the inner bearing. Already got a new tire on it, so that's fantastic. And after that, I'm also gonna install some mist lights, and I still need to put on my new windshield. There we go. Nice. All right, so the bearings actually look pretty good on these wheels. Rubbers don't look too bad either. A little worn out, but still right. I'm just gonna grease it up, put some grease on the inside and on the cap, and then I'm just putting it back together and the new sprocket on there as well. There we go, one old oil filter with a hole in it. So the old filter is done, the new one is in. Now it's time to install the new oil using some 10W40 from Motul and some liquid moly oil additive. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna remove the exhaust headers, the cables or the pipes over here, and I'm gonna drop the whole exhaust system down, and then I will cut this part, so the catalytic converter box. I'll remove it and replace it with the shiny pipe over there. Now, if you're wondering how I'm gonna do that, I'm not gonna put it in this video because I already have a video on my channel of my old Kawasaki where I show how to do it. It's pretty easy. You just drop it down, angle grind the catalytic converter out of the way, and then place your pipe in between, and you can mount your normal mufflers onto it. So make sure to check that out. And the catalytic converter is loose. Now I'm just gonna angle grind this part right there and slide on the slip-on. And there we go. We have one thick catalytic converter and one nice open straight pipe. So I'm going to smooth the edges and then place my decat pipe on it. All right, after some trial and error, I figured out a nice way to get the front sprocket off. This thing was super tight and it was quite a pain to get it off. I tried a bunch of stuff. Someone stepping on the brake, having the rear wheel in, and then lock it up, but ABS gets activated, so it just jumps a bunch of times. So I grabbed an old chain and I bolted it together, as you can see. So I just cut through, well, you can't see that. I just cut the chain and I bolted it together here to kind of form, yeah, this is the main point and this is not going anywhere. It's super strong. So then you just put in neutral, put the chain around the sprocket, and then put the nut on it, or that thing, and then have a huge shaft, so to say, to power that thing out of that socket. And then it comes right loose. Very nice. You don't need any power tools. You don't need to put it in gear, nothing. It's just your good old chain, a tiny bolt keeping it together, and some elbow grease. So very nice. And now I'm gonna put on the new one. And this is pretty much how my workshop looks. It's a complete mess. There's tools everywhere. But you know, as long as I can get the job done. Now, for the mist lights, I've had some questions in the past of people asking me how I did it. Did I install it on the harness? Did I get some really expensive lights from like Giphy or something like that? But in fact, I had these on my old bike as well, and I really like them. They're just pretty simple LED lights. They have two modes, so there's like yellow light and orange light. Yellow light and white light. The white light's quite bright, but these are set up so that they don't blind anyone coming from front of you, so you can actually keep them on. There's a little fan in as well to keep it cool, and they're waterproof. And I think on Amazon I paid about $25 for these. They come with some brackets, but I won't actually be using those, or I will be, but I have extra brackets to mount on the motorbike. And then for the actual harness, I have, let's see if I can get this open. There we go. So for the harness, I actually bought a wiring harness. This one I used last time as well. It's way too much wiring, so I'll definitely be shortening it. And this one is meant to go on to the battery itself, but I'm actually going to use the existing wiring harness of the motorbike so that the bike basically cuts off the electricity to all the lights when you switch the ignition off, because otherwise you might forget it one day and then boom, you have an empty battery. And this one is quite nice. It already has a relay in there, which is very important so you don't overload any of your electricity systems. And it's got a built-in switch. I also bought a couple of these just in case this one breaks or it's broken. And then it has these handy connectors, and these I'll be putting onto the lights themselves so I can disconnect and connect the lights if they need to be replaced. So here you can see the relay, and this I can actually just connect next to the ECU. And then these two I will wire into the existing harness. And I don't actually need to use this fuse, but yeah, might as well do it. Although the only thing that I don't like about this is that the wiring, or the, what do you call this stuff again? The shrinking tubes that they put around it, they're not very tight. They're a bit loose. So I think they're too big for this cable. So I'm actually gonna strip this off because I also have to shorten the cable. But take a look at the motorbike, because on the wiring harness here on the side, there's actually already a couple built-in accessories that you can use that are wired into the fuse box. So you have this one, which goes to the 12-volt plug. And later on, I will split this to connect my phone charger to it as well. And then over here, I think it's in between here somewhere, there should be two plugs as well, similar to this one, that can house something like heated grips. But I'm actually going to use that for the lights. So one thing I just noticed is that the previous owner used the two plugs and they attached the heated grips to it that I have over here. So I'm gonna have to see how I go about that, because I'm not sure if I can connect both lights and heated grips on this, because it could switch or overload the fuse that is in the fuse box. So I have the light connected. It's nicely hooked up on this mount right here. I'm gonna move it a little bit more inwards in case I make a slider. This thing won't become the slider, but this is. And then the wiring will go up here and it will come together all here around this place. And then I'll splice it on these two. Right, and the wiring is done. I've got everything hooked up, going to the center, into the relay, and then the relay is going up. And I'm gonna install the switch, I think over here. So it involves me drilling a hole in this, which I normally don't really like to do, but behind here there's nothing and it's not going to intervene with this. So yeah, just going to place it here and make it waterproof. All right, and there we go. The switch is in, very nicely hidden. I just drilled a hole and dremeled it out to a perfect fit. And now, boom, we have light on both sides. Very nice and bright. Now I'll do all the setup correctly. And also now, boom, it shuts off. Perfect. I installed the lamps correctly. I did the wiring, the switches in. I tested everything and I already put the mufflers back in place. So right now I'm gonna put all the panels back because pretty much everything is done. All the gadgets that I wanted to install are done. All the wiring I had to check is done. All the fluids I had to check are done. So yeah, put the panels back on, give it a test run, kind of let it run in, you know, and then also make some distance so I can adjust the chain once it's done with the working period. So yeah, pretty much a smooth experience so far. Alright, one motorbike done. Now it's time to clean up. There's a problem, which I totally forgot. It's out of fuel. The motorbike is finished up. I just got back from a small little trip to check out if everything was working correctly. I actually kept the stock mufflers on. Not sure if I'm gonna change those in the future because they actually spit some fire right now because of the straight pipe. And yeah, I don't mind the look of them. I could change it for the better, but who knows, I might do that in the future. Everything else works exactly as I wanted to. I got the new windshield on, the lights, the side lights, the sliders, everything is perfect. Also the brakes, front and back, completely redone, except the pads. Only in the back I changed the pads like you saw in the videos. But for the rest, it's an absolute bless to drive this thing. Very smooth power delivery, and also with the new drivetrain, so a new chain and new sprockets, it's much smoother than stock in my opinion. On my old bike I had a stock chain sprocket setup, and I believe it was a 40 teeth in the back and a 15 teeth in the front, and what I felt from that was that it was really like jiggery to drive. Like the bike in first and second was really unpleasant because it just wanted to go. And now I changed it to 16 in the front and 40 in the back. And it's such a huge difference. The power delivery is much smoother. I actually feel myself that I use the third gear much more instead of hugging the fifth or the sixth. I was going on a little ride where I reached like 90 or 100, even 140 at one point. Doing a big pull, and I did that in fourth gear. I didn't even do that in fifth or sixth. So cruising with this thing is going to be, oh hey, hello, puss puss. Yeah, so cruising with this thing is going to be an absolute blessing. It's a little bit uneven now because it's cold. It'll probably smoothen out in a little bit. Let me throttle it a little bit. Absolute fucking loud sound. Wow. Very much louder with that straight pipe. The backfires are not there all the time. I used to have some MIF exhausts on the back on my old bike, and when I did the straight pipe I had a continuing flow of fire coming out of the exhaust. It was really cool, but at some points it was also a bit obnoxious. You know, if I'm driving around the neighborhood, I don't want to wake everyone up. This thing is already very loud as is. It even still has the silencers in it. So I think I'll just keep it like this and have the occasional fire come out of it when I, you know, go a bit crazy in the gears. But for now, I'm very happy with how the bike turned out. The servicing is great, and it was actually very easy to work on this. I didn't use any manuals, only for some torque measurements, but that's kind of it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.